palace was silent when she heard the doors slam open. Servants lowered their heads immediately. Something was wrong. Zeresh rose slowly from beside the candlelight as heavy footsteps thundered through the chamber. Her husband had returned angry before, but never like this. His breathing was uneven, his hands trembled, rage burned in his eyes, and the moment Zeresh looked at him, she knew someone had wounded his pride. That was dangerous, because wounded pride in powerful people rarely stays quiet for long. "What happened?" she asked carefully. He ripped off his royal robe and threw it across the room. "That man still refuses to bow to me." "What man?" "Mordecai." The name came out like poison. Outside their palace, all of Persia honored him. Princes respected him. Soldiers feared him. Even the king had raised him above every official in the empire. But one man refused to kneel. And somehow, one man's refusal became more powerful than a kingdom's praise. Zeresh watched her husband pace across the room like a restless beast. Most people would have told him to let it go, but Zeresh understood something dangerous about the human heart. An insult repeated long enough can grow into obsession, and obsession always demands to be fed. "You let one man steal your peace?" she asked softly. "You don't understand," he muttered bitterly. "I have wealth, honor, power, but every time I see him standing there unmoved, it feels like mockery." For a moment she said nothing. Then her eyes hardened. "If he dishonors you publicly," she whispered, "then remind him who holds power." The room became still, and in that moment, a private wound became a public disaster. Because some people destroy lives with actions, others destroy them with permission. The days that followed changed an empire. What began as anger slowly became hatred. Royal scribes were summoned, decrees were written, the king's seal was pressed into wax. Across Persia, messengers carried orders of destruction against the Jewish people. Men, women, children, all marked for death because one man wounded another man's pride. And still, hatred was not satisfied, because Mordecai continued standing unafraid at the king's gate. One evening, Haman stormed home furious again. "I cannot endure it anymore," he shouted. Zeresh watched carefully. His pride was no longer wounded. It was consuming him. Then she spoke the words that sealed their fate. "Build the gallows." Silence filled the room. "Build them high," she continued. "Let all of Persia see what happens to men who dishonor you." That very night, workers hammered beneath torchlight as massive gallows rose into the Persian sky like a monument to arrogance. And for the first time in weeks, Haman smiled. But while one household prepared for revenge, another household trembled in fear, because Queen Esther was secretly Jewish, and now her people faced destruction. Night after night she wrestled with fear. If she remained silent, thousands would die. If she spoke, she could lose her own life. Then everything began shifting. The king discovered that Mordecai had once saved his life and had never been rewarded. The next morning, Haman entered the palace expecting honor. Instead, the king asked, "What should be done for the man the king delights to honor?" Pride answered instantly. Certain the king meant him. Haman described royal robes, a royal horse, and public celebration. But the king smiled and said, "Excellent. Do all of that for Mordecai." The words shattered him. The man building gallows for another was now forced to lead his enemy through the streets in honor. That evening, Haman returned home shaken. For the first time, fear entered the room. Even Zeresh felt it. "If Mordecai is truly favored," she whispered uneasily, "you may not overcome him." But it was too late. Hatred had already gone too far. That night at Esther's banquet, the queen finally revealed the truth. "There is a man who has plotted the destruction of my people," she said. The king's face darkened. Who? Esther lifted her trembling hand toward Haman. This man. Time stopped. The powerful official who terrified nations suddenly looked small, frightened, human. The king erupted in fury. Then one servant spoke carefully. There are gallows standing at Haman's house, prepared for Mordecai. The king turned slowly. Hang him on them. And in one horrifying moment, the trap closed. The gallows built through pride, encouraged by revenge, and raised by hatred, became the instrument of Haman's destruction. And somewhere in that silent palace, Zeresh faced a terrifying truth. The bitterness she chose to feed had destroyed her own house. Because some people don't destroy lives with swords. Sometimes they destroy them with whispers, with encouragement toward pride, toward revenge, toward hatred. And little by little, the traps built for others become the traps waiting for us.